Alrighty, so today I'm just going to go over my ace deck. I've been getting comments about posting the card count. I know there's a lot of variety. Usually don't see a third row or even a fourth row on a lot of decks. But yeah, the breakdown for blue yellow ace isn't traditional. So a lot of the times you'll see like all three brothers, you'll see Garp, you'll see additional searchers. When I say all three brothers, I mean Luffy, Ace, Sabo, Baby, and Big version. And now that we're in OPO7, you can run the really big the other big versions of them. So the Egghead Luffy, and of course Blue Ace, the blocker ace, this one right here. So you get more chances to buff yourself, and you're rushing, not just rushing people down, but you're flooding your board and getting some really big swings from leader out, and playing quite defensive in the early game as well. And if you don't have like a big drop like a Kaido or like a Yamato or Katakuri or something like that, towards the end game, it usually falls off. Blue yellow ace is usually the considered the weakest of the three brothers. I think it's right in the middle. I kind of think Luffy, even though the current meta says he's the strongest, he's very predictable. He immediately loses to Pudding. But yeah, you'll just to go over the deck without going off on a tangent. I start off with, of course, two Kaidos. I like both of them. I was running just one or the other before, but I found that while I played, I either needed one or needed the other during specific matchups. And instead, decided just to have two of both. So two of the eight removal and one removal back to hand. And then, of course, draw four if you have sub three. This is great defensively. They're both great defensively and offensively, to be honest with you. And they are big drops, so they're a little bit annoying for groups to deal with. Pudding for the spice, obviously, it's always nice to have pudding. I'm a big fan of pudding in blue decks because against a white beard, against a black yellow Luffy, you drop a pudding when they have 12, 11 cards in hand, which they naturally will. It's over basically. Like the game is done. They card out, they run out of health, and it's over. Blocker Ace to synergize with Baby Ace and other Rush Ace. Great card to have. Viola for the heals. So I'll run, for example, I'll use my leader ability and then I'll just flip my card down with Viola. It gives me a blocker plus heals me. Sanji for the heals. This is really an early game play, so I'll play this on my first turn if I'm going second, or second turn if I'm going first. And then the following turn, I'd use leader ability into Sanji, which would heal me, and I would take a 5k, usually a 5 cost 2k into hand, and then it heals me one, right? Satori, because he's a 5 cost, synergizes with my leader ability, and he's 2k counter, plus he triggers out. Hiyori, because it's another way of healing, obviously a 2k counter as well. Denjiro is a trigger that just puts a body on, and against like Lucci's or Moria's, if you have 2k, they can't knock you out if their opponent is less than 2 health, or sorry, 3 health. Great card to have, and if you want to up this one, the only downside is it's a naked body. There's no counters, right? Sorry, excuse me. Jinbei, newer Jinbei. Of course, this one's fun because he pops 4 costs and he goes back into your hand as a 1k counter, and also he's a 6k body at a 5 cost, so it's not bad. Not a horrible play, but again, great as a fantastic trigger, one of the best triggers. The Sabo I like to run instead of the Sabo, because the Sabo isn't actually a part of OPO7. It's part of the baseball series that was the exclusive to Japan. I don't even know if they're going to bring it to North America. So for me, when I play this, you could in real life actually run the 5 cost 2k counter Yamato, or if you don't want to run Yamato because it's too defensive, it's Rush Yamato with very specific trade offs. It's not really a great. It's basically just a leader ability searchable 2k counter. So what you could run instead, if you want to be a little bit more offensive, you could run the other Sabo, or you could even run Luffy, whichever Luffy you want, the Trigger Luffy from Egghead deck, or the traditional Three Brothers Luffy, which is also a buff and lets you not heal, but lets you maximize your leader ability if you have no way else of taking it, like similar to the Sabo. Shanks is a great card. I never used to play him until recently. But you use your leader ability. You put this down on play, so your 9 Dawn turn or your 10 Dawn turn, and basically, or even if like somebody Katakuris you, you drop this guy, and if they have 7 cards on hand, it does banish damage. Their life goes straight to the trash, and you put a 7 body on the field. It's great against Trafalgar Law as well, especially if they're flooding and they're using Raichus For a big topped up hand, you just do true damage and you just have a 7k body, which is hard for them to pop. Baby Ace, of course, because I run 2 aces. Red Rock for the removal, Gravity Blade for the removal, Thunderbolt for the removal, synergizing with my leader ability. It's a cheap 5 cost pop. And then, of course, I run 1 Queen Mama Chanter. And of course, the Mama Chanter is actually the worst way to utilize your leader ability. Not the worst. It's a good way to pull the free 5 cost into hand, so it's a free draw, but it's your last resort. Every other way is better. So Viola, obviously healing, and you get a blocker. Sanji, you legitimately heal, and you get a card in hand, so it's not just getting a card in hand. Hiyori, you get to place whatever you want, and you basically heal because you heal. Shanks, you just straight up heal and potentially do true damage, and it's a 7 cost body. Thunderbolt, you're killing something. You can't trade like it's towards the end game. If they have a 5 cost blocker or less, and they have nothing, you basically use leader ability. You're going to be likely buffing your leader to max anyway, so you're throwing 8 on your leader ability and then just popping their blocker and just swinging with a 13 to face, which usually ends the game. So Thunderbolt's great. So last but not least, of course, you have your Mama Chanter, which if you're in a pinch, you'll be using just to draw that 5 cost into hand, and ideally it's a 2k if you need it. So yeah, this is the deck I like to run. I feel like it's pretty competitive. I've beaten some pretty good decks with it. And as I mentioned before in previous videos, I make all my decks myself. I do draw inspiration from obviously the internet, but I haven't really seen an ace deck like this ever, like the one that I run. I run this in real life as well, like so I have the physical, but like I said, I usually swap this Sabo out with a Yamato or a Luffy. Plays very similarly. If you want to be more defensive, you want to grab the Luffy, or sorry, the Yamato. You want to be more offensive, you could grab the Luffy. At the end of the day, I run with the Yamato mainly just because I like the defensive play, the defensive aspect of it. And the only thing to be mindful of when you're really playing this deck is when you're playing against yellows, make sure you don't have like 9 health or 7 health and the other person has 2 or 3 and they just drop a Yamato to pop your Kaidos. Because I've simmed a game yesterday where he double Yamato popped 2 of my Kaidos. Yeah, but anyways, hope you all enjoyed the video. I'll obviously post the deck list so you can copy and paste it and start playing. And if you do see me, my screen name is Janny, Janny. It's just a short form of my name. Right? So hope to see you guys on the sim. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.